Alright, so I am all set up to debug my event. I had to go find the debug command. What it is, it's going to be debug space EBI space your mod ID and your event ID. So in this case, mod ID, my mod ID is going to need to be written out for this. So in this case, it's going to be avian rpg dot the garden cottage. And then you'll see this underscore Howie 8 heart is at the end. I like to include these underneath where I've written my events so they're easy for me to just grab, copy, and paste. You can find the debug commands on your modding community, the wiki. You can just go down, like you'll see modding console commands. Click on debug commands, it'll take you down here. So depending on what you're testing, these are there. The debug commands are something that is included in SMAPI it's like a separate folder called console commands. It should be downloaded with your SMAPI file. So if you ever can't find it, you might just need to update your SMAPI or reload your SMAPI. So once you have this, what happens is when you have your Stardew file, you'll see this window. Usually it just goes through and runs as you play your game. As you can see, I need to make some updates. Anything in purple is usually things you need to update. Standard reading file stuff usually shows up in white or gray. So for example, you'll see this gray says successfully hooked. White is like loaded mod. When you see a red, this is an error. This is a thing that tells us something is wrong. This particular error is intentional. This is another file I loaded in that I'm kind of sort of picking at. I knew this does not work and I put it in so I could show you the red. Things in yellow are things that it thinks are a little weird, but don't actually at the end of the day affect your mod. So what you do is you take your debug command, you can either type it in or paste it in. Since I have it copied from my window, I'm going to paste it in. So this is going to put us in debug mode. EBI is saying we're going to look for an event. This is the event we're going to look for, and as soon as I hit enter, it's going to try to run our event so we can see how well what I've written works. And this is normal. This means it's send it to the game. It's not going to respond until I click on my game window. Okay, so we can already see that there's an error. This is a translation error. This means something in my translation key isn't working. However, it is showing Howie wearing his glasses, which tells me I did at least do the sprite portrait thing correctly. So let's move to Andrew over, but it didn't do the fade in. And it's working, but it is not finding my translation files. So what I'm going to need to go in and do is find my translation files. So we're just going to click through to the end so I can make sure he walks off at the end. I like to do a run through. My emotes are working at least, where I watch everything go through and just kind of log an idea of what is happening. So there's definitely something funky on my translation files. They're walking off correctly. Did it tell me? It did not give me any red here, so I know there's no SMAPI errors with my event. So my biggest error right now is something with my translation files. Okay, so now I can go in. I can look at how I've written my translation key. And close that, and I can go back into my translation key here, default events. Event 8.howie.1. So I can tell you right now what my error was, is I included the I18N, and I was not supposed to. Just going to change all occurrences, delete that out, save it, and now when I go in, my translation should work. I am going to do, instead of wait for all stationary, I'm going to go proceed position, Andrew Davis. I believe that's all I need to do for that. Modding event, proceed, position actor name. So I think that's going to focus on whether or not he's in his spot or not. Change that, save. And now, my two biggest things that I noticed right off the bat should now run for us. Now there is a patch reload command you can give these, which will reload your patches, but it doesn't work, like it doesn't reload the translation key. So since I knew I had a translation error, I reloaded the whole game instead of doing a patch reload. Everything wants to do pop-ups for us right now, which is throwing off my load in. There we go. Debug. Head over here. Okay. Andrew is still moving before the screen fades in. I might need to put a pause in. However, yeah, I'm gonna need to put a pause in. That might solve the Andrew thing. But my translations are now working. I'm going to take my pause and move it to the other side of my viewport. And now also you'll see I have that skip button. Okay, one more time. And here we go, now we're not on a partial fade. And everything's positioned where I want it. Should be able to see all the action above. As you can see, it put the farmer above, right in front of the door, and Howie on the steps, and then it moved Andrew over. And you can see he's wearing his glasses, which is largely why I wanted to make sure the glasses sprite was applied with the event we just wrote, because I needed those applied during the event. And I can confirm that that works as well. Okay. I'm going to move Andrew just so they don't overlap. I'm going to move him. That way he will move down. And there we go. That is an event set up, written, coded, and tested. I hope you all learned the information you needed to create your own events. And until the next video, I hope you have a wonderful day.